You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Education News. It's February the 26th and I am live here from the Legacy420.com news desk, and we're found at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. I'm going it alone today. Rev Kelly is away, so why don't I just get started right in the news? No need for me to preamble with myself, so let's get at her. First story up comes to me from Mugglehead News. Headline says Germany votes to legalize recreational cannabis possession, distribution, and framework is needed. In a historic move, Germany's chief legislative body has decided to legalize personal use of recreational cannabis in a country with an estimated 4.5 million users. The law, passed by Councillor Olaf Scholz coalition, will enable citizens over 18 years of age to possess up to 25 grams in public spaces and cultivate up to 3 plants. Lawmakers in the Bundestag voted 407 to 226 in favor of the new legislation, which is set to come in effect in April. Despite the immense significance of the vote, the law will still need to pass through discussions in the nation's Bundesrat or upper house of government. The law's authorization is not dependent on approval from them, but if more than 2/3 of them object, its implementation could be delayed while compromises are being made and negotiations are held. The nation's Social Democratic Party explained this in a statement sent to Euronews. Germany has now become the third country in Europe to permit adult use cannabis after Malta and Luxembourg. However, the new legal measure doesn't implement any sort of distribution or retail sales framework. We have 2 goals, they say: to crack down on the black market and improve protection for children and young people, according to German Health Minister Karl Lauterbach. He emphasized the importance of not letting tainted cannabis get into the hands of youth in a debate with the government members who oppose legalization. It goes on to say that if all goes according to the plan, German citizens will be able to purchase cannabis from designated community social clubs as of July 1st. The next step for the country's government will focus on the distribution framework. The move has received praise from one of Canada's companies here, High Tide. The company has been closely monitoring the legal developments lately on cannabis in that country, and it aims to become a significant player, they say. So there you go. Germany, another country that has legalized cannabis. As this slowly spreads around the world, it becomes a global thing. And that's what we've got to keep concentrate on getting it done, is make sure that we do get cannabis legal in other countries. And nobody, especially nobody, gets hung for cannabis, as what can happen right now in several countries. All right, on to the next story. This one comes from MJ Biz Daily. Headline says Canadian recreational cannabis sales surpassed $5 billion in 2023. That's a lot of money. Canadian recreational cannabis sales were worth 5.07 billion Canadian dollars in 2023, an increase of 12.2% compared to 2022, according to the government. The year-over-year retail trend marks a slowing growth rate for Canadian cannabis sales as the market matures, more than 5 years after adult use legalization, which was back in October of 2018. In the 22 annual cannabis sales increased by 17.9% compared to 2021, reaching roughly 4.5 billion. Now, Brad Polis, a professor of entrepreneurship at the Toronto Metropolitan University, he says, I think it's natural slowing. And, I have to agree. The vast majority of the growth in legal cannabis sales comes from consumers transitioning from the illicit market, he says. And going 2024, that market still controls roughly 40% of the cannabis sales in Canada, is what he estimates. You can see a bit of a chart there. They say that although illegal operators have early advantages in terms of product assortment and access to consumers, the gap is narrowed over time as Canada's permitted new product formats and access to legal stores has improved. Yeah, but they still have some regulations that are making things, not go the way they want. So I think there's still one area where the illicit market does enjoy advantages, and that is potency of edibles. And I have to agree with Polis there. And for public health reasons, they say Canada's can't limit edibles to no more than 10 milligrams of THC per package. But that has to be has to be changed. There's no doubt about that, because it's too low. It's too low. They need higher dosing, and there is a petition being done by Normal Canada that's going around. They're hoping to get approximately 5,000 signatures when they submit this. I'm not sure what they are at. They only required 500, but the last I knew, they were just over 3,000 signatures. So hopefully they've gotten close to that 5,000. They say that Canadian cannabis preferences continue shifting through 2023 with exceptional growth in sales of pre-rolled joints in Canada. That's according to Mitchell Lafleur. He's an analyst with Headset. And he says that in 2023, pre-rolls captured 31% of total sales, an increase of almost 20% over the previous year. They said this brings the pre-roll category to nearly parity with flower, which is at 35.2%. as the most popular product category in Canada. Pre-rolls, quick and easy, convenience. They're there. It's just people don't have to roll the joint out in the middle of the cold or in the wind. They can just go buy them. Or do as I do: roll before you leave. Put them in a container, and you've always got some pre-rolls with you. Whether you're on or not. So, all right, next story. This one comes to me from the Cannabis Health News.co in the UK. It says that patients to call for equity in medical cannabis access at U.S. Commission on Narcotic Drugs. Patients from across the globe will call for fair and equal access to medicinal cannabis treatments at the upcoming session of the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs. Members of the IACM, Patient Council, alongside other nonprofit organizations, will represent the rights of patients seeking legal, fair, and equitable access to medicinal cannabis at the 9-day event, which is taking place in Vienna from March the 14th to the 22nd. The Commission on Narcotic Drugs was established in 1946 as a functional commission on the UN Economic and Social Council, and it is the principal policy-making body within the UN. The 67th CND session is a midterm review, which will focus on taking stock of the implementation of all existing international drug policy commitments and the work to accelerate the implementation of the commitments from 2024 to 2019. This is the first time members of the IACM Patient Council will attend the CND, with 6 representatives taking part in the events throughout the session and providing written and oral statements in the CND plenary and negotiating forums to help shape the debate and influence policy outcomes. The organization has described it as a historic movement for cannabis activism, with the presence of patients and activists at high-level political events such as this is necessary to ensure the advancement of fair and just legislation for cannabis patients worldwide. Hear, hear. The barriers faced by cannabis patients around the world are often imposed and perpetrated by the treaties that the CND is responsible for. While over 20 members of the EU have now legalized medical cannabis in some form, access varies greatly between the countries. In Germany, a number of patients who hold prescriptions for cannabis are now well into their triple digits, although only a small portion of those currently qualify for medical reimbursement. They got reimbursement. We don't get any reimbursement. Meanwhile, in Greece, where medical cannabis was first legalized in 2017 due to concurrent regulations, including a ban on cannabis imports, patients still have no access to legal medicines. Now, Jacqueline Portreas, she's a IACM Patient Council co-founder. She says the issues that patients face with access are common to citizens around the world. Well, she also goes on to say that cannabis has been recognized by the World Health Organization as having medicinal applications, and it's time that this highly therapeutic botanical be treated as such and not as a dangerous narcotic which is distanced from patients that have need of its healing properties. Hear, hear. The treaties and regulations that have been put in place in the past desperately need to be revised and updated to support the rights and needs of patients today. Political agendas of some countries shouldn't be allowed to be an obstacle to safe and affordable access. And that's why you always hear me, they say at the end of the news show, and I've been doing this for many years, do not incarcerate. That's a global thing. People are still being locked up. People are being hung. So changes need to be made. And some of those are patients. There's no doubt about it. Michael Krawitz, national representative of the U.S. and executive director of Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access, also highlighted a growing evidence based on to support cannabis as a possible alternative to opiate-based medications for hundreds of millions living with chronic pain around the world. He says cannabis as an inducing pain retreatment produces better patient outcomes and reduces the need for opiates. He goes on to say that the IACM Patient Council has reviewed the cannabis access programs of various countries, and we have found that many have no access, and those with access often have obstacles that are unnecessary and at worst represent a violation of basic human rights. We hope that our input into these United Nations historic meetings will help guide countries to better patient access. If you like what Michael says, tune into the Veteran Action Council's roundtable, which Michael is obviously involved with here as he's an executive director. If you want to hear more of what Michael has to say, check him out on YouTube, Veteran Action Council. And another spot where you can get them is Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on CBG TV. Veteran Actions Roundtable runs every Sunday. Canadian National Representative and founder of AUBE, the voice of medical cannabis patients, Daphne Elisma, added, "It is essential that the barriers to safe and affordable access to medical cannabis be addressed on a non-discriminatory basis." Now, members of the IACM Patient Council who will be in attendance include Jacqueline Portreas. She's the co-founder and national representative in Greece. Michael Krawitz, which I mentioned, he's a national representative from the U.S. Daphne Elisma, national representative from Canada. Tom Curran from Ireland. Dr. Pavel Kubo is from the Czech Republic. And Kevin Herzig is from Australia. So that's good to see that patients are there at the UN in order to change things, to get things changed, because the treaties do. That was one of the things when Canada legalized cannabis was, what about the treaties that we signed in the past? And that's not in other countries that have done that since. That question's been asked, but obviously, like Canada, we went ahead and legalized, and I don't know of any repercussions that have happened from us going ahead and going around that treaty. So, all right, on to my next story and last one before I go to my break. Headline here comes from StratCan. It says that New Brunswick's 8th private cannabis store opens in Hampton. I'm sure Glenn would like to know a little bit more about this, and Cindy as well. It said that New Brunswick recently announced that the 8th private retail store, cannabis store in the province, is located in Hampton. As I said, it's about 30 miles a minute drive from St. John. So the provincial government first announced its plans for around a dozen new stores in 2021 and began vetting for 10 new private cannabis stores following a tender process that ended in October of 2022. The newest store is the second Cannabis Express location in New Brunswick. The retail chain was also the first private cannabis store to open in the province in June of 23. Cannabis Express currently has 14 locations in Ontario, here in Ontario. Now, according to Cannabis Express owner Chris Jones, he says, "We are excited to finally open our newest store in Hampton. The town has been very welcoming, as well as the residents who are excited that we are open so that they have a more reliable, convenient place to buy their legal cannabis products." Jones tells StratCan that the new location's grand opening was the biggest store opening in the franchise's history, with the highest number of sales and customers. He also says Cannabis Express is the largest private retailer in New Brunswick by revenue, and he expects to open a third location in St. Andrews this spring. So that's not too far away. The private model is very successful, and we hope they allow us to continue expanding, since it's easier for CNB to work with a group that has scale and can continue to grow versus new operators. The model and working with Cannabis MB is much easier than Ontario. They are very supportive of the growth and success of our business and great people. In the agency's most recent quarterly report in January, total sales were $24 million, an increase of 10% compared to the same period last year. Net income for the quarter was $6 million, which is 26.5% above the prior year's third quarter total. New Brunswick has taken some relatively unique approaches to cannabis retail since opening its public-only model in 2018. In addition to being one of only two provinces with a mixed public and private retail model, BC being the other, it is only the third province to have a formal farm gate retail licensing business system in place. There are currently 6 cannabis producers in New Brunswick now licensed to allow on-site sales direct to the consumers, including the recent addition of a cannabis nursery. So maybe you can go and buy clones. That'd be nice. Cannabis NB will bring its Cannabis Expo to the Fredericton Capital Exhibition Center on March the 16th. The Expo is a cannabis education trade show that expertly crafted for 19 plus New Brunswickers who consume cannabis. Yeah, as well, it's expected, as well as those who are just curious about industry and their products. And, that's where people can go to these different shows, trade shows and stuff, and learn about different products, different things that's going on. So, all right. As I said, that's the last story before I go to break. So off I go. It's time to hear from our sponsors and for me to take as I mentioned, the break. You're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Educational News here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News source found here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. All right, got a few more stories for us for the second half. We got the U.S. received some cannabis from Jamaica. California is selling some bongs that they confiscated. They're doing it's against the law to sell bongs there. We're going to find out about New York and their growing of cannabis, and we're going to be talking about some THC-infused drinks at a lounge. So let's get at it. First up, from MJ Biz Daily, U.S. receives first DEA-sanctioned cannabis import from Jamaica. Wow. Canadian Jamaica company compromised with former veterans of Steep Hill Labs and Cannabis Growth Corporation has shipped what it claims is the first Drug Enforcement Administration sanctioned export of cannabis products from Jamaica to the United States. Gee, I remember the U.S. always threatening Jamaica about their cannabis. The Toronto-based Pure Jamaica brand and its cultivation and manufacturing arm in Montego Bay, 710 Pharmaceuticals, exported 8 different tincture products and 3 different distillate products with varying ratios of THC and CBD, according to Scott Cathcart, who's CEO of both Pure Jamaicans and the 710 Pharmaceuticals. The company shipped only a small amount of the product for DEA-approved research. According to Cathcart, he says that we shipped enough for testing purposes, not in commercial qualities. The other cannabis vet on the Pure Jamaicans leadership team is John Bell. He is Pure Jamaica's board chair, a position he formerly held at Canada's Cannabis Growth. The company's products were shipped to a DEA licensed facility, ACS laboratory in Sun City Center, Florida. The testing facility has a contentious history with Florida regulators. Since 2022, Florida Office of Medical Marijuana Use has fined ACS at least 3 times, according to reporting by MJ Biz Daily and Anacal Cannabis. Penalties have reached tens of thousands of dollars. So you got the state funding this company, and you got the federal government using them in order to test product. Like the alleged violations range from ACS reporting false or inaccurate information on certificates of analysis using methods that are not compliant with the state regulations. Since 2021, the DEA licensed researchers have been able to buy cannabis from a small number of cannabis cultivation companies approved by the agency. And in the past, researchers' only option was to obtain cannabis from the University of Mississippi. And from what I recall, that was only just one strain. And some of the cannabis was old, like 10 years old. It was that old. So it's good to see that they've brought some stuff in to be tested. But obviously, as always, there's more work to be done. Okay, on to the next story. We are off to Entrepreneur. Headline says California officials selling seized bongs to cover unpaid cannabis taxes. Bongs are illegal in the States. In California, I don't know. I'm going to read this stuff, find out. It says that California police and tax collections officials recently sold at auction personal property seized during law enforcement raids on unlicensed and tax delinquent cannabis dispensaries. First reported by the LA Times, the auction seized included items such as glass bongs and pipes, furniture, and electronics, typical to modern dispensaries. The products were initially seized while executing search warrants against multiple LA-based cannabis dispensaries. Of the 10 retailers raided, only one was actually licensed by the state, and together the businesses reportedly owed more than $14.4 million in unpaid taxes. So it sounds like they want some tax money from these stores that they consider illegal. Notably, the auctions last week marked the first time California law enforcement publicly auctioned off personal property that was seized from a cannabis business. Previously, officials had only auctioned off the commercial property recovered from similar seizures in Witter and Crompton, according to the report. Now, Nick Mandoris, director of California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, says that seizing and auctioning property from cannabis businesses that evade the law is a tool to recover the taxes owed to the state. The items from each location were grouped into lots, and if potential purchasers were interested in a specific item, they were required to bid on the entire lot. The property seizures mark the latest cannabis industry enforcement action for a state that has long sought to curb the unregulated market. The Unified Cannabis Enforcement Task Force in California said in January the task force has seized about 190,000 pounds of illicit cannabis valued at nearly $312 million during its first calendar year of operation. Additionally, a Humboldt County cannabis cultivator agreed earlier this year to pay $750,000 to the state over environmental violations, promising to also take restorative measures as part of that court-approved agreement. So there you go. They sold bongs that they had taken from the illegal stores. So I don't know whether they were cleaned. Maybe they were used. Who knows? I haven't got a clue. But on to the next story, nevertheless. And this one comes to us from cannabisnews.org. New Yorkers can now grow cannabis at home. Hey, all right, New York. New York's recent regulatory updates have set clear boundaries for the cultivation and possession of cannabis in private residences. Under these new guidelines, regardless of the number of adults living in the household, a maximum of 6 mature and 6 immature cannabis plants can be grown simultaneously. Additionally, individuals are limited to possessing no more than 5 pounds of processed cannabis flower harvested from their personal cannabis cultivation. Well, unfortunately, that could penalize people who are good at doing what they do. And 6 plants in veg and 6 plants in bloom. Just rotate the garden, perpetual garden. Just keep it going, and it wouldn't take long, really, if you got a good green thumb, in order to get that 5 pounds. For enthusiasts opting to convert cannabis flower into concentrates, possession limits will be determined by the weight of the equivalent of the processed product to cultivated cannabis. This regulatory framework stems from the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, which stipulated that home cultivation rules will be established within 18 months following the initiation of the state's adult use retail cannabis sales. The inaugural legal recreational cannabis transaction in New York occurred back on December 2022 at a retail operated by Housing Works, a nonprofit organization in New York City. The law originally detailed the restrictions on plant cultivation and product possession. However, the allowance for licensed retailers to sell starter plants marks a novel provision aiming to offer these businesses an additional revenue stream. And that's like here in Canada, there's nurseries, people who produce clones, but it's the thing. How do you keep them in the store? Do you order them in as they are required, needed by the customer? But does that create a paper trail for the nursery? Who knows? But I think it's just quick and easy. Just be nice if people could just go in and order the clones from a retail store, and then that retail store has those clones brought in, and they contact the owner in order to come and get them, and then that way they're not having to deal with having growing plants in the store or maintaining plants or watering or anything. So, but we'll find out eventually, I would assume. It says here that state officials assert that enabling New Yorkers to grow their own cannabis is anticipated to minimally affect the licensed retail sector. Nevertheless, there has been a notable delay in implementing home cultivation regulations, a strategy thought to safeguard the burgeoning retail market from an oversupply of cannabis that could challenge the success of legal dispensaries already facing competition from unlicensed establishments. The existence of a worldwide illicit market has prompted state regulators and law enforcement to intensify crackdown in efforts on unauthorized sales. Retailers interested in offering starter plants must secure a nursery dealer registration certificate from the State Department of Agricultural Markets and ensure each plant is appropriately labeled with strain information, expected harvest date, and safety warnings. How do they keep them in the store? Since 2018, the sale of cannabis seeds has been legal across the U.S. Following the Federal Agricultural Improvement Act, the sale of seeds is not regulated by the State Office of Cannabis Management, and an individual 21 and over can purchase them freely. Currently, only medical cannabis patients are permitted to grow cannabis at home, a right extended to them since October of 2022. These regulations permit the cultivation of up to 3 mature and 3 immature plants by patients or their designated caregivers for the provision to possess up to 5 pounds of harvested cannabis. 3 plants. Ooh, for a patient. Hopefully that gets, if you can recreationally grow 6 and do 6 and 6, they should be bumping up these patients' numbers. I would think. It only makes sense. Why would someone get a permission to grow only 3 plants when they can do 6? The sale of cannabis seeds or plants between patients and caregivers remain illegal, though donations of cannabis within specific limits are allowed. Medical practitioners are authorized to prescribe cannabis for various conditions, including insomnia and anxiety. Delays in establishing a retail framework and legalizing personal cultivation has caused discontent within the cannabis industry. Recent progress has been made, yet challenges persist, highlighted by lawsuits from stakeholders urging for equitable licensing process. And I know those lawsuits have also caused delays. Unfortunately, I don't know all the details about all the lawsuits to get into that part of things, but I know that we have had some stories where these lawsuits have been delayed for that. So it's good to see. I hope the patients can get a higher number than just 3 plants. If you can grow 6 recreationally, as far as 6 in bloom and 6 in veg, there's 12, right? and the patients are only 3 and 3, so there's only 6. So why can a recreational consumer grow twice as many as a patient? It just doesn't make sense to me. All right, on to the next story. Headline there says that let's get to where it's from. It's from Vegas Eater, because this is our last story of the day. Sip THC-infused cocktails inside Las Vegas's Vibey new cannabis consumption lounge. This is going to be interesting. Under Nevada's current laws, you can visit Las Vegas and purchase cannabis at any dispensary. There just isn't anywhere near the Strip for you to legally consume it. That all changes today, February the 23rd, as Thrive Cannabis Marketplace becomes the first dispensary in the state to be approved by the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board to operate a consumption lounge, which opens tonight. The lounge, called Smoke and Mirrors, opened 9 p.m. on Friday, so that was last week, and more like it are on the way. Adjacent to the Thrive dispensary at 2975 Sammy Davis Jr. Drive, half a mile from the Las Vegas Boulevard, Smoke and Mirrors is a venue in which visitors can legally consume many of the products found in the dispensary, plus a cocktail menu of 11 THC-infused liberations. There's the Godfather, named in homage to Clark County Commissioner Tick Sigerbloom, who proposed a marijuana lounge bill during Nevada's 2017 legislative session. It's made from sombrero, Vietnamese, anise, blueberry puree, lime juice, pineapple juice, agave and basil leaves. The Evolve uses sombrero, Indonesian cinnamon, apple juice, vanilla syrup, and a cinnamon stick. And the higher ground is Take on Green Tea Cocktail. Sigerbloom goes on to say that we have the opportunity to be the marijuana capital of the world if we do this right. That's right. Do it right, and it will spread. Cannabis lounges are spaces where both locals and tourists can sip THC-infused beverages, socialize, enjoy live music, and smoke cannabis in a setting that is not only safe but also legal. Currently, there exists only one other consumption lounge in the state. That was back in 2019. The new Woo dispensary opened a lounge, since renamed the Sky High Lounge. It is on sovereign land, tribal land, and owned by the Las Vegas Pate tribe, which doesn't follow the same regulations for cannabis lounge put forth by the Cannabis Compliance Board. Nevada legalized recreational use of cannabis in 2016, and in the 2021 legislative session, lounges and state regulations were approved, and in late 2022, the state awarded prospective licenses to 40 applicants for consumption lounges. Since then, licenses have been hard at work preparing for suitable investigations, building our lounges, navigating the process of dosing food and drink for consumption, and scouring cannabis to their conditional licenses. The story goes on there, but it's good to see that these lounges are opening up and are becoming a real thing. And just for curiosity here, I see that I have some company, and I'm going to invite Green Irene in here, and I'm going to ask Green Irene, what do you think of that last story? Lounges, and look at all the licenses they're giving up.
You know what? We need that here in Canada. We need these lounges, right? Anybody can go into a bar and have a couple of drinks. We need safe consumption places. It's dignified consumption. Am I right? This is what everybody's been talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it just makes sense. There's people who can't actually, get, because they live in condominiums, and condominiums can have boards that set policies that restrict things. There's, the plant growing is a big issue when it came there, and that was shut down left and right. And as time has gone on, condominiums have stopped people from smoking their cannabis in your own unit. You spend $1 million plus on a condo, and then you're told that you can't smoke your legal cannabis.
It's horribly sad. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And and it's not just condos. Like let's take a look at some just even apartment buildings. There's issues. There's issues in the home. Let's say you got 3 or 4 or 5 children, and your husband doesn't partake, but you do. Why can't you go down to the lounge down the road, have a couple of puffs with some friends, maybe put together a puzzle, and go home? There's your time out. Now, if that's not safe, I don't know what is.
I'm a perfect example of that.
Yes.
I'm in a residence here. I'm the only one who consumes cannabis, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 others that don't.
Right. And so you want to have a space where you don't feel like a reject, where you're standing outdoors trying to have your puff. This is part of this is still supporting the stigma that we have to be outside, away from everybody. It's not all inclusive where acceptable. And until consumption is acceptable, there's always going to be an archaic attitude attached to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
They can have these. They can have a lounge. I like to maintain. Obviously, I like to see some exemption when it comes to the Ontario Smoke Free Act to allow cannabis consumption inside. But if that is an issue, when it comes to vaping, as far as I'm concerned, is completely different than when it comes to smoking cannabis. You don't have vape floating through the air, and the concern is there's people working. They have that's part of the protecting the worker part of the act. So you don't have that smoke floating through the air when people were vaping, and that's how one of the lounges operated in the past. No smoking inside.
And with decent filtration systems, the rabbit air, for example, cleans a phenomenal amount of space in a short period of time.
Oh, I know several of the lounges at one time had big can filters in the establishments in order to filter the air. Some of them were blowing directly to the outside, and some were just filtering it within there.
Right. Like recirculating it, filtering it through, removing anything that probably the odors, the terpenes in the air. I don't know if that's really what it is in the air, but the smells in the air. And so all of that gets removed. And we really do need to see some move towards having cannabis lounges across North America. Never mind just the US, never mind just Canada, straight across North America.
On top of the vaping and the smoking, there's a whole slew of food that's now legal and available to be able to have at these lounges. Why couldn't a lounge or owner order in products in order to sell out the business?
Right. Imagine being able to go down, instead of going down to the donut hole. I'm just going to use donut hole as an example. Instead of going down to the donut hole, you can go over to the cannabis and coffee shop, have yourself a coffee, have your little vaporizer. So you've got your balloon, you bring in your product, and you know what? Oh, those cookies look delicious. I would love a couple of infused cookies with that. That they're only, because of the legalities, that they're only 5 to 10 milligrams. So it's not significant dosage. And you could enjoy an infused snack or beverage and enjoy your balloon and social time.
Yeah, and after you've had your morning coffee type thing, at nighttime you go back to the same place so you can get yourself some entertainment, whether it's a band going on, whether it's karaoke, maybe there's a live podcast that's being broadcasted from the establishment.
Maybe it's a painting event, a crafting event, evening, or putting together a puzzle if nothing else is going on. Or let's talk about our book. Let's have a book club. There's just so many opportunities, and there's such an audience, a definite consumership for the lounges, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I guess that's that. Anything else you want to mention in the lounges? Other than that, I'm just going to sign us off.
Oh, well, no, thank you for bringing me in and hearing my opinion.
Well, see, you had a cannabis cafe.
I did. Now, I had opened prior to legalization. So prior to legalization, there was only 8 restrictions against cannabis, and a medical vape lounge was not one of them. So through the gray zone, we're going to call it, I managed to move in, get all these vapes set up, help educate a community that was otherwise very standoffish. There was very much a stigma that supported the use of cannabis. So my entrance into on the main street, my opening of my doors really helped to educate a lot of the community. Shortly thereafter, unfortunately, and the way we had it set up, I did not have any cannabis products in my store. I did have all the accessories like the vaporizers, and a multitude of them. I had, everything else that goes along with the social life of it, people would come in. There was an educational opportunity. They got to enjoy it. Some people for the first time tried vaping their cannabis. I seen converts, people converted from rolling that joint and puffing to moving to a vaporizer. That being said, there's again, a lot of benefit to the education of talking with your peers.
Sure is. Oh yeah, it's a social place. People gather, they talk, they share their stories, all kinds of things. Now, as far as when the lounges were in place, part of the issue was there's people would say, well, those are patients, or there's patients go in and out of there, and there was the privacy issue when it came to the patients, and a business asking a person if they had a medical condition. There's all the privacy issues and laws, and the owners just stayed away from that. And what they did is they gave a spot for people to go and consume their cannabis.
Exactly. It is absolutely illegal for anybody to ask about your medical except for a licensed medical professional or federal law, not provincial, federal. So they are the only ones that have the right to your medical information. So even, if you're smoking a joint, somebody says, oh, you're not a patient. What's it any of your effing business? I'm sorry, but that's how it was back in the day. Now, of course, we can smoke recreational, so that's not even a question. But, yeah. And then after legalization, all of that changed.
Sure did. We lost the lounges. All right. That's the report from today from the Legacy420.com news desk. I hope you found it educational and informative. Thanks to Legacy420.com, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, and to you, our viewers. And don't forget, as I always say, to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, They offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.